Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Admit all. Here they come.
Okay. Welcome. Glad to see so many people coming in right as we get ready to go at 5 o'clock. Let's see. Thomas and Julie and Patrick and Frank and Bob. I encourage you to go into the chat and let us know who you are, where you're coming from, either your congregation or organization. And pleased to see people popping in. And we're getting some things in the chat here. That's good. You'll note that this is being recorded.
Nancy, I'm going to mute everybody so that they can unmute themselves, but just so we don't have some background noise. That means you'll probably be muted too.
All right. We're going to give people another minute to make sure they find the link, which sometimes can be challenging even when you think you know where it is. I'll see who else comes along. I will note that for some of us, we had to pull ourselves away from the US Tennis Open with Djokovic going for his Grand Slam record. But this is even more important. So I am happy to be here. Hi, Mary. Hi, Alicia. Lois has joined us. And Steve. Welcome to you. We'll get going shortly, but do introduce yourself in the chat. And Justin. We still have people coming in, so we'll give it a minute more. Okay, we'll continue to admit people and be glad that they are joining us, but because we only have an hour, we're going to get right underway. And I'm happy to welcome you all to this, really our third session after our launch of Ohio-focused UU and partnership action around environmental justice, which really means all justice. And we are really pleased to have all who have joined in this afternoon for our discussion of brine and how it is going to be or not going to be used. Before we get to our topic, we'll get started with chalice lighting that Lori Eldridge from the UU Congregation of Cleveland is going to do, and CJ is going to light our chalice for us. So Lori.
Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our databanks and dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. That's Arundhati Roy, a political activist and Indian author.
Thank you, Lori. I haven't introduced myself. I'm Nancy King-Smith. I'm a member also of the UU Congregation of Cleveland. I also chair the UUA Green Sanctuary Advisory Board and have been involved in justice activities in UU world for quite a while. I'm going to share a very brief covenant from the Django platform of how we can proceed with our process today. It's pretty simple and pretty obvious. Be friendly and patient. Be welcoming. Be considerate. Be respectful. Be careful in the words that you choose. And when we disagree, try to understand why. So at this point, I'd like to invite anyone who has announcements of actions or trainings in your region or even in your congregation that you would like the rest of us to know about and potentially participate in, to put those in the chat so that we can know what's going on. I also want to acknowledge that our September meeting focused on redistricting, and let's have a show of hands of people who participated in that session. So great, okay, and Joan Van Beslaer is going to, I butcher it every time, is going to share with us what's happening, and we want to thank everybody for participating then and taking action. But now what's going on, Joan?
Okay, there's quite a lot going on. If you read the newspaper or if you saw something on TV, you know that the Republicans submitted a redistricting draft map on Friday, and that the commission adopted it as their map that they are now working with and going to bring to the different hearings that are coming up today, tomorrow, and then on Tuesday. Now, if you know anything about districting maps, this one is outrageous. As a matter of fact, we're mad as hell about it. It's worse than the map we have now in terms of gerrymandering and strengthening one party over another. So that is why we are really doing a lot of work right now to get people to testify. If you are in Cleveland, the testimony is being held tomorrow. And then in Columbus, its testimony is being taken in the morning if you're able to do it live, but you can also do it written. And Kristen is putting into the chat a link so you can see how to write or submit testimony. But that's today, which is already going on, tomorrow, and then on Wednesday. Then on the 21st of this month, there is Fair District Day. Okay, Fair District Day at the State House. And it will be an all-day affair with speeches and visiting legislators and music and all kinds of lovely stuff. And so we'll put that in the chat as well. And then on the 22nd, I mean, right, back to back, we didn't know that this was all coming down, but the very next day, we have State House Stomp, which is stomping out the bills that would stop us from protesting. It's stomping out those that would attack our First Amendment rights for free speech and free assembly. In other words, it's pro-democracy. And that one is on the 22nd. And once again, we'll have music, we'll have food, we have visits being arranged with our legislators. And we really need people to come out and say, hey, I want to protect free speech, for heaven's sakes. Let us not be throwing me in jail for protesting something that I should be able to protest. Okay, and we'll put that all in the chat.
All right, well, thank you. So now we're going to learn about the issue of the day, which is brine from oil and gas on our roads. And we are very pleased to have Cheryl Johncox, who's with the Sierra Club and a member of the Ohio Brine Task Force, to fill us in on what is happening and more especially what we can do. So Cheryl, take it away.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today about this, this legislation. And it's so wonderful to see so many familiar faces, those I saw last month, plus some folks that have been working on this issue for a very long time, as well as other members of the Brine Task Force. Is it all right if I share my screen now? Perfect. So just begin. Today I'm going to be talking about radioactive oil and gas waste that is being spread on Ohio roads, specifically House Bill 282 and Ohio Senate Bill 171. There's my contact information. And I guess there we go. So these are pictures of conventional gas wells. That's where this material that we're talking about, this radioactive oil and gas waste, comes from. So what they do is they put lots of water and lots of chemicals down inside the earth, and they set off an explosion in older formations, older geological formations. They set off an explosion, and what happens is when they set off that explosion, gas is released, but these layers, these older geological layers, also have they also contain radioactivity. So this picture is actually what you're seeing is from the Cleveland area, and this is a picture of an old flowback pond, and this is how they collect the material that comes back to the top with the gas when it's coming out. So the water, some of the water comes back to the surface with those chemicals, and it brings up to the surface the radioactivity that was in those older geological deposits. They put it in these ponds, and then they have to find a way to get rid of it. It's waste. They have to find a way to get rid of it, and they're doing two things right now. They're putting it in class 2 injection wells, which some of you may know is causing earthquakes and well blowouts around our state. But the thing we're going to be talking about today is a way that they are continuing to try to make money by selling this waste to companies, communities, the Department of Transportation, and it used to be the Turnpike for road treatment. So why does this matter? Well, I won't read through these all, but this material does contain high levels of radioactivity. It contains radium-226 and radium-228 at hundreds of times the allowable level to be released into the environment. Significantly, this radium builds up over time. So it washes into our streams, it gets into the soil, it can get on your shoes, it very easily be tracked into your home, exposing you, your family, your pets. And radium is a bone-seeking, cancer-causing radioactive material. The Ohio Department of Transportation and the Ohio Turnpike are no longer using this material. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources has called these two pieces of legislation, they're very concerning, and that they do not ensure the protection of public health and safety of the environment. A lot of folks that are on the call today also probably know that this is not the first time that a bill has come to the Ohio legislature trying to make it easier for companies to sell their product and to have it spread on roads. We've been fighting this battle for 6 years. I believe it's been 3 general assemblies in a row that we've been fighting this legislation. And significantly, this particular bill would eliminate any oversight on where this stuff is spread. They literally will be able to put it on any parking lot, any sidewalk, any road in the state of Ohio with no tracking of where, when, or how it is spread. Particularly of interest is the Department of Natural Resources. They are the regulatory agency in charge of tracking this material. They are very concerned about that. They have said, we don't want this on any roads. And you know, this really is the first time that they're coming out with these strong statements. We did have, you know, some success over time, and those 2 successes are the Turnpike is no longer using it, and the Department of Transportation is saying they will not use it, because we've been working for so long. The Brine Task Force members have been working for so long to educate lawmakers and educate agencies about this material. You know, this really has the potential to harm not just us and our families and our pets, but really generations to come, because it builds up over time. And radium-226 and radium-228 actually have a half-life of 1,600 years. So they've been spreading this on Ohio roads for a number of years. And we don't know how much how much there already is. And so half-life for 1,600 years, what that means is it's 1,600 years from now, it will still be half as radioactive as it is today. So it has the potential to affect people for generations to come, which is why we're really, really concerned about this. We are asking folks, oops, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead now. Did everybody get an opportunity to just see these talking points and read through them? So we are mounting a campaign on these two pieces of legislation, Ohio House Bill 282 and Ohio Senate Bill 171. Both of these bills have had their 3 required hearings. So what this means is at any time, the committee can meet and vote it out of committee and send it to the floor. So literally the Energy and Natural Resources in the House and the Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee in the Senate could meet one time. They could vote on it. It could go to the floor the next day, and then we could have a full vote in the Senate or a full vote in the House. So either of these bills moving forward is very, very dangerous. So we are mounting a really concerted effort to get these bills to die. We really are trying to push folks to contact their legislators. We're trying to get them in, if there is another opportunity for testimony, to get in and testify and get in a phone call or a letter to their elected officials. Does anybody have any questions before I go to my next action page?
John Elder has a question that while DOT said it wouldn't purchase any more aqua salina, that they might use the supply they already have. Is that true?
That is correct. Unfortunately, they have 700,000 gallons of it right now. And they have said that they are going to use that all until it is exhausted. And they will no longer be purchasing more of this material, but they will be using 700,000 gallons this winter season.
Let's see, we have a question from Patrick. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I saw a recording on the Ohio Channel of a hearing, and I forget which chamber the hearing was, but the 3 women that testified individually spoke about a potential meeting with Senator Hoagland, I believe.
Yes.
Has that meeting taken place?
Yes, that meeting did take place, and that is how we got this very strong statement from the Department of Natural Resources. So Teresa Mills, who's with Buckeye Environmental Network, is really leading this charge. Sierra Club is supporting them, and so is the other members of the Ohio Brine Task Force. They met with Senator Hoagland, who is not friendly most of the time on environmental issues. He is very supportive of oil and gas. He's also the co-sponsor of Senate Bill 33, the anti-protest bill that passed recently. They asked for a meeting with Senator Hoagland. He brought in the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Oil and Gas Administrator into this meeting. And the division chief straight up says, we did not want any of this on the road. Senator Hogan was thinking that maybe he would have an ally, and it turned out that the Department of Natural Resources is aligned with us against these pieces of legislation. We sent a letter to Ohio Department of Natural Resources Director Mary Mertz, and Mary Mertz issued a letter to both chairs, the chair of the Senate committee and the chair of the House committee, saying that she is very concerned about these bills and that they don't protect public health, and there would be no way for them to track where any of this brine is going. Basically, anytime, anywhere, it could be spread. She also said that brine haulers, if you live in the Appalachian region of Ohio, you'll oftentimes see the brine trucks that are transporting this stuff on our roadways. Brine haulers will no longer have to get a permit to haul their brine. They'll no longer have to record how much they're hauling. It strips all oversight from the Department of Natural Resources.
How did
Okay.
that happen?
It's in the bill.
All right, but the bill hasn't been voted out of either committee, correct?
That's right. If this bill, if they only need to meet, the committee only needs to meet one
Right.
time, and then it would
Right.
go to the floor. So this
Who-
bill would strip the oversight.
Gotcha. Who are our allies in the committees?
Well, so Representative Weinstein has been very helpful on this issue. We're also working with Mary Lightbody on this issue. We are also working with Laura Lanise, who is a Republican in Grove City, who is an ally on this. Mike Skindell, as you know, is a great environmental advocate. He has sent us word that he is opposed to this legislation. There are very few Republicans and several Democrats that have come out to say they will oppose this bill.
So we're going to need to move on here, and we can have more questions during our action time. But let's let Cheryl tell us more about the actions that we might be able to take.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, come on there, computer, you can do this. So here's an easy action. There's a phone number, one phone number. This is set up through the Sierra Club. If you dial this phone number, it will ask you for your zip code, and it'll direct you to your house member. It'll connect you with their phone line, and you can leave them a voicemail. And this is the script. I'd be happy to provide. There's a sample script. I'd be happy to provide you with this, with the sample script. I actually have those the talking points also printed out, helping you prepare if we get another chance for testimony. You could use those talking points. And then this is a sample script if you wanted to call your house member, and you can do it through that number. And this is what we have coming up, 2 for Tuesdays. So over the next 6 weeks, starting September 21st, we're going to launch a campaign and ask folks to make 2 phone calls every Tuesday. We're going to target each member of the House and Senate committee. If you sign up by sending an email to info@benohio.org, we will send you the contact information of the 2 people we'd ask you to call, and we'll send you a sample script every Monday. And what we're trying to do is generate 100 phone calls to each of our target legislators over the next 2 weeks. We'll also be running social media and email advocacy for 2 for Tuesday. So please look for emails that that tell you about this sign up that you can forward on to your friends and family. You can also forward on to your contact lists. And then we'll be running this also on Facebook. We'll have Facebook events, a Facebook event that we're running every week. And what we're trying to do now by waiting until September 21st is we're trying to build momentum to get a whole bunch of people to sign up to be on our 2 for Tuesdays action list.
Okay, anything else that you want to highlight right now, Cheryl?
That would be all.
Okay, well, thank you. And these are great actions that we'll come back to after we hear from Ron Prosek, who is going to share with us another possible action. Ron is president of the board of FACT, Faith Communities Together for a Sustainable Future, and chair of the Social Justice Council of East Shore Unitarian Universalist Church in Kirtland, Ohio. So Ron, tell us about FACT Action.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Cheryl. FACT, Faith Communities Together for a Sustainable Future, is inviting everyone to our annual meeting to hear from our distinguished microbiologist presenter, Dr. Yuri Gorby. His presentation is entitled "The Brine Battle: The Risks of Unregulated Wastewater from Oil and Gas Wells." You can join us via Zoom on September 25th at 4 p.m. for this presentation, which will be right at the beginning of our annual meeting. I will put the registration link in the chat as soon as I finish describing these events. Secondly, also for longer term action, FACT, supported by a grant from the Center for Health, Justice, and the Environment, CHEJ, is set to begin a project of educating faith communities in Ohio on the issue of radioactive brine in the environment in Ohio. We will begin our project by educating a core of people on the issue and training them to work as presenters on this to congregations in Ohio, not just Unitarian Universalist congregations, but any and all congregations that we can reach. You can also contact me by email if you are interested in joining us in this training, which will begin sometime next month. You could use my email that I'm going to put in the chat to let me know if you're interested in getting this training. I see that there are some FACT members here today. Our FACT board will be involved, our FACT committee chairs will be involved, and our FACT rank and file members will also be involved. So everybody who is interested in this training can just let me know and we'll get you information on the dates. It'll be in October. I don't have the exact date yet. So I'm going to put those things in the chat now. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Ron, and thank you, Cheryl, for this good information and opportunities. We're now heading into the core part of these hour-long meetings, which is the action. And both Cheryl and Ron have indicated some ways to take action. Some of them can be done in the next 20 minutes. Some of them are ones that you'll need to reserve to do later on, but just making that commitment is going to be important. So we have really the actions that can be taken that Cheryl talked about is to get involved with understanding the issue based on what we learned today and starting to talk about it to friends, family, congregation, and other groups, because this is one of those seemingly small pieces, but in the overall scheme of things, we certainly can be afraid of what might happen if we aren't ready to stop it. If the bills come out of committee and go right to the floor, from what Cheryl said, that means there won't be opportunity for further testimony. But if there is opportunity for testimony, having it ready and knowing how to do it is important. So in the chat, there will be a link to how to do testimony. And it's called a tantalizing testimony video. So it's a way to figure out how to do just that, tantalizing testimony, to make a difference on legislation. Then there's the Two for Tuesdays coming up and preparing what you might talk about. There is the script that Cheryl mentioned, and hopefully that is going to be linked to also in the chat. So that's another thing you can prepare, is what you will say to these House and Senate committee members on Tuesdays, in making those calls. And then there's a toolkit for the Brine Task Force, and I think a lot of this information and links are there, and additional resources. I know we're saying everything in the chat, and there is a lot of information there. We are going to try to capture this after the fact, but for taking action now, this is the time to start on that. Signing up for the fact training, and then picking a group to share this information with. So I'm going to give you time to focus on what you want to do, to ask questions of either Cheryl or Ron, and you can unmute yourself and just ask them if you'd rather not write it out. Also ask you to put what you're committing to do into the chat, so that we have a sense of what people here today are doing. So with all of this information and opportunity, go for it.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Jenny McNeil. I'm in West Virginia, Cheryl, and I'm involved with FACT in terms of supporting the southeast region of the state in the Marietta, around the Marietta area. And I've got two questions. One is, is there anyone who has proposed some sort of tracking of independent tracking to figure out how radioactive Ohio is at this point? And then secondly, what are the bordering states? What are their concerns? Or are there any concerns from Pennsylvania, Ohio, or I mean, West Virginia and Kentucky, Indiana? I mean, these are states that are affected by this stuff because it doesn't obey the borders, doesn't mind them.
So thanks for asking. And Ginny, if you know George Benzinger, he's so wonderful and helpful. I see you with Marietta UU. He's amazing, and he's been working so hard on these issues. So Pennsylvania routinely spreads it. They have been spreading it for a long time. They also are, as you may know, they also send some of it to wastewater treatment plants. So we already have, concern about what's coming in the Ohio River Basin from Pennsylvania. And interestingly enough, West Virginia, I don't believe spreads it on their roadways, which I find interesting because, sometimes Pennsylvania will have stronger rules than we do. West Virginia sometimes will have rules that are a bit less stringent as Ohio. Ohio is like failing us in all regards on all protections when it comes to the oil and gas industry. So I know Indiana spreads it as well. It's horrendous and it's ridiculous. I know that they use it in California for some irrigation. the thing that makes Ohio and this region so crazy is that the Marcellus and Utica shale, which are, you know, the shale plays that they're getting a lot of this brine from, we have unusually high radioactivity in some of our geological layers. So some of the materials that are coming back up to the ground are much more radioactive in our area than they are in other places around the country. So that is especially concerning. And no, you know, they don't, you know, this stuff does not just stay in one state. And, you know, there's evaporation, there's sublimation, there's, you know, spreading it on roads for dust control, which is absolutely crazy because the next time you drive down that road and it's dry, you could be inhaling this stuff. So, you know, it is very concerning for a lot of reasons. I also just found out that they used it in porta-johns, which scares me personally. My husband has been in construction for 35 years. So this is, you know, the industry that's just trying to make some extra money and any way they can, and totally disregarding our health, which they seem to do across the board.
So we have a question in the chat, and then Patrick has another question that he'll ask. So the question from Thomas is, what is the response of the sponsors of these bills to the objections that tests show that the brine contains a high amount of radium-226 and 28? What's their defense to the objections, and what about prevention, oversight, and controls?
So it's insanity, is what it is. You know, we have some folks, you know, companies that are producing this material for sale, and they stand up and say that it's completely safe. They've been using, you know, research from the state of Ohio. Basically, they've been, you know, it's the same thing that they do. You know, they're just creating doubt. They're simply saying things about the research that the state of Ohio has done that are just not true. You know, it was very significant for us to get the Ohio Department of Health to say that they have not studied its long-term effect, because the sponsors of this testimony have been pointing to the Ohio Department of Health study and saying, see, look, it's not a problem. But, you know, the Ohio Department of Health did one test on one batch. And, you know, that's another thing that's scary about this material, is that every single batch of this material has a different chemical makeup, different set of chemicals, different radioactivity levels. And you literally would have to test every single batch of this stuff to know what's in it and to know what our exposure is. And that's just not being done. We have, you know, we've been sending all this stuff, information to the sponsors of these bills. It's young, and I can't remember the other sponsor's name. I'm sorry, he's in the Youngstown area. But they, you know, they don't answer our questions. We've really been trying to hammer them very hard. The Ohio Brine Task Force and all of its members, you know, there are so many that are on this call, have been doing an amazing job, just hammering the legislators with this information, but they are not responding.
Okay, Patrick, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yes, please. Is the Ohio legislature in session right now?
Yes, they returned on the 8th. This coming week, the House is, so the Senate was back last week, and the House is returning this week. And so they will be resuming committees. Also, if you sign up, well, actually you're on UUJO, so you probably already get the schedule. But if you send an email to info@benohio.org, they also sent out a notice about these particular legislations, these two, and then when, and if there's a committee hearing on either of these bills. But they've been playing funny business with us. The last hearing in the Senate, they moved the meeting twice in 1 week. And we were left with about 7 hours to get testimony in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Someone, let's see, Steve has put in the chat to ask at campaign events about these bills. So
That's
that's
an excellent idea.
another possibility here. Any other questions that people have while you're working on your testimony and your script and sharing? A number of people have shared they'll be involved in 2 for Tuesdays. And so please let us know how you're planning to follow up today.
And if you're interested in, becoming more involved, we have, sample, if you're interested in submitting a letter to your local newspaper, we have a letter to the editor worksheet that gives you samples and these talking points. We even have, folks that would be willing to assist you with the process if you are interested in, taking it a step further.
Where do we get that information?
Here is my email. I'm putting it in the chat right now. And then you just send me an email and I will line you up with somebody who can help you write it. I will send you directly the talking points and the how-to fact sheet that will talk you through the process. And then I'm willing, or I know Mary Aguilera is on this phone call. I know, let's see who else. Brian is part of our Brine task force. Who else is on? There's so many of you. Julie is a member of our Brine task force. She's on here. So we've got about 15 or 20 people who are working really weekly on this. We're always, trying to come up with new ways to pressure the legislature. So just send me an email and I can get you those materials and get somebody that can help you get that letter written and submitted.
I have a question. If for 2 for Tuesdays, if they email info@benohio.org, can they get signed up for that? Or is there someplace else they need to go?
That's all they need to do.
Okay.
Info, and we had it. She knows she's waiting for y'all to contact her. Teresa's waiting patiently. She'll put you on our action list. And we won't barrage you with a bunch of emails. You'll get a welcome email, and then you'll get also a note that says, look for your update on Monday with all the information that you'll need to make your Tuesday phone call. That article, yeah. Mary makes a really good point. Mary said a lot of people saw the Ohio Department of Transportation article and thought we had won because the headline says, something like no use of brine on roads. Well, unfortunately, the dispatch did us a disservice with that headline. That article actually was just about they're not buying that brine anymore. And although there was one yesterday, Mary, I don't know if you saw it, Midwest Environmental Energy News had a really good article. Yuri Gorby, the scientist from Pennsylvania, is in that. That was a really good article yesterday that is it clarifies that we have a lot to do yet to get this stuff stopped in the state of Ohio. We win on this, and then we go for a piece of legislation that'll ban it outright on the state.
What was that article? Where was it posted?
It's called Midwest Energy News.
Okay.
Here, let me see if I can pick it up, Ginny, while y'all are talking. I can look at my email real quick.
But there's no legislation now that bans it.
No, there isn't at this time. We really want to focus on, killing these these two bills, because if they pass, if we take the eye off the prize, we're so done. that you could be exposed while you're at the Kroger shopping center and not even know it. We really are trying to stay focused on and getting these pieces of legislation dead in the water. Oh, here it is. I found it. Here you go. Here's this article. I'll put it in the chat. It's very good. Oh, Mary, you're so good with the cut and paste.
All right.
All right. And just to let folks know, we've got about 10 more minutes for questions and for your actions. You can be checking out any of these links while we're in action together here. And that's really part of the strength of this idea, is that we're doing it together. And it is about community and how we accomplish things as a group.
I have a question about allies. I know we've asked this once before, but I wondered about specific allies like OVEC and the Mid-Ohio Valley Climate Action folks, Eric Ingles' group.
Let me get you, so Mary, do you have our group sign-on letter at your fingertips? We've been taking we have a group sign-on letter. We have about 45 groups that have signed on in opposition. We're planning to do, hopefully planning to do a press conference, maybe a virtual press conference with just a few members of those groups, where we talk about the groups that are opposed, why we're opposed, and try to get some additional media about the widespread, really upsetness about this piece of legislation. We do have both of the groups that you mentioned. The Mid-Ohio Climate Action is on that. We do have Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition, who's also signed on to that, Ginny. I believe People Over Petro has signed on. FACT Ohio is signed on. Sierra Club is signed on. But there's we have Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association, the Ohio Farmers Union is signed on. So we have some non-traditional partners as well.
Great. That's great. What about doing videos, like little video spots that, would, where you could share your objections to this?
That would be great, Ginny. We actually have that on our plan. But other than, I think, Mary and myself and Teresa, everybody is a volunteer that's on this brine task force, and we're so thankful for that. But we do, have limited capacity. But if you would love, maybe you could get it started, Ginny.
Okay, I can do that. I've done a few videos for another organization, and it's pretty easy to put it together. It's just, you can only take like 15 seconds, and that's it. That's the max on the video. So it's not like it has to be a long drawn out thing. And if we can get people engaged in that, yeah, we can do a script and everything for it.
Yeah, and if you could, if you'd like to tag us on social media, send it to benohio.org, tag the Ohio Sierra Club, tag Ben Ohio. We'll retweet it or Facebook post it, and make sure to tag, legislators, and that would be great.
Okay, let me see what I can do.
Thank you so much.
Say a couple words.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Ginny. And that's what's so wonderful about this kind of meeting. Like, I have goosebumps. Like this is why we're, this is just so exciting, because this is where this extra thing, that push and that extra, and that it can take this whole thing to another level. just having these little video clips, and we can create like a video frame that you put the video into as well. So it's not just like a video, like it has like a, maybe, and maybe have people read the talking points or something like that. So thank you, Jenny. That's really
Mary
exciting.
could
sure.
create a video frame.
So Mary, who do I connect with about doing this? Because I'm not in the middle there, but I'm on the outside here looking in, and I don't want your radioactivity, Ohio. Thank you very much. So who do I talk to about this?
Just put Mary's email in the chat.
You just put it in the chat. Okay. Mary at Ben, Ohio. Okay. Thanks.
Is
Yeah.
Mary on this, is Mary on this call tonight? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I have a concern if the two committees have fulfilled their hearing requirements and their respective bills can be voted out of committee at any time. Shouldn't we be getting on the telephone right now? And wouldn't it be a good idea to have the 45 groups in opposition take a look at who the committee members are and see if any of those committee members are their electors, and put some pressure on them as being a constituent. I mean, I think we've got to get some action going ASAP before those something is done behind the curtain.
Have we tapped the unions at all?
I don't believe, Mary, do you know if there's, or Ron, do you know if there's been any union outreach on this?
I'm thinking like a police union. They're out in the community. They're out in the public domain. They're out there on the sidewalks where this stuff is going to be floating around. The trash, municipal trash service, landscaping companies, and I don't know what unions are, what they are in Ohio, but I'm just wondering if that might be another pool of people, again, constituents that we could tap to make some noise.
I would think first responders would be very interested if they have to get involved with a cleanup situation.
Yeah.
And I think the health departments should also be lassoed into supporting the anti-brine push. And I think
the health departments are kind of difficult, Patrick. I totally agree with you. They are in a very precarious situation because their budgets, their entire budgets come, from the state and local communities, and they have been very reluctant to engage on this issue particularly. I would say you could maybe start with your local one, but we have been trying to get their attention. So it's the Senate. I'm looking at Marlene's. It's the Senate Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee, and it's the House Energy and Natural Resources Committee.
What about professional organizations? The Ohio Medical Association, the Ohio Nurses Association, social workers. I don't know. Is that another segment that, those?
We are working on the Nurses Association. We have a member on the Brine Task Force who's in the nurses. She's actually with the union, the nurses union.
All right.
So she is doing outreach to her colleagues in the nurses union. Mm-hmm. I believe, oh gosh, Ron, Ginny, you really are challenging my brain here. I can't remember.
Well,
No, this is great. I can't remember if this was the issue that the medical association weighed in on, or not.
we need to check on that. Put that on
Oh,
the to-do list.
yeah, social media tools. So we have a host of tools and
Great.
ways that you can help. We have a whole toolkit that you can put together. The Brine Task Force actually meets every week. If you're interested in helping out or taking one of these things on, you can please communicate with Mary or myself, and we can talk to you more about your ideas, and if you would like to contribute some of these ideas, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
Before we wrap this up, Cheryl, I had a couple of things. Have you talked with the Ohio Steering Committee? Because Samia, who's on it, is an activist in Cleveland and very connected with people of color here and might be of help. I see it as somewhat of an environmental justice issue, especially if cities are able to spread this stuff on their roads. The city cops, the city EMS, all the city people driving on this brine all winter is bad.
Yeah, I know they've got a pretty full load at the steering committee, so I haven't, discussed this specific issue, but I do send out all our updates and what's going on in our actions to the conservation committee and to the staff list, so they are getting this information, Steve. But I appreciate your suggestions, and I know.
Okay. Also, a question. Currently, is anybody able to buy this stuff and spread it on roads in Ohio?
Yes. But currently, Steve, they need to go to their local government first. They need to go to their township if they're going to spread it in their township, and they need to go to their county if they're going to spread it in the county. And both of those approvals will go away if this bill passes. It is being stored, and I know you probably know this. It has been seen on shelves. It has been seen on some shelves at hardware stores, Nature's Own Source, Aqua Salina. And the group in the Cleveland Environmental Action Network did an amazing job last General Assembly with this previous bill on getting that information out, that it was in hardware stores and literally anybody could buy it. And it said, what did it say? Ancient salt or ancient seawater or something like that. And it doesn't have to have a warning label on it. And y'all did such a good job up in the Cleveland area of that last time that we haven't seen it ourselves, but we're not, we can't speak for every store in Ohio.
Okay, well, this has been a working meeting with some great ideas and some energy around what we need to do to make sure that these bills don't get passed. So I thank you, Cheryl, for sharing all this information and answering so many questions and details and so on, and Ron for bringing fax work along, and to everybody who has helped with this call. We will have another monthly call in October. This one will focus on transportation. The date has not yet been set, but please make sure you're on the UJO Google group that's just been put into the chat to get information about these upcoming things. And if you have an issue that has an action that's needed for November, December, be sure to communicate that because we will be trying to pick up on issues where immediate action is what is needed. So thank you all, and I'm going to turn it over to Ron for a closing statement.
Thank you, Nancy. This closing reading that I'm doing.
Ron, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. I'm sorry, I forgot. But I want to particularly note Kristen Byrice's wonderful support of getting this off the ground. She is going to be starting a new full-time job and won't be as active in this, but I really want to send out my thanks and appreciation to Kristen for the work she's done and also the support of Joan in all of this. So sorry to interrupt you, Ron, but now for our closing.
Oh, that's okay, Nancy. I just looked at a note. Are we going to ask folks if they have a burning action for November or December?
Yes, to communicate that to either in the chat now or I guess to get in touch with Joan.
Okay, thank you.
Or add it to the Google chat because that's part of the form.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. This reading that I'm going to share with you are words from Greta Thunberg. And what she's talking about here, of course, she's referring to the climate crisis, but her words could really apply to all environmental challenges, including the radioactive brine crisis that we have. And these are her words. We deserve a safe future, and we demand a safe future. Is that really too much to ask? We need to get angry and understand what is at stake. And then we need to transform that anger into action and to stand together, united, and just never give up. It is still not too late to act. It will take a far-reaching vision. It will take courage. It will take fierce determination to act now, to lay the foundations where we may not know all the details about how to shape the ceiling. In other words, it will take cathedral thinking. I ask you to please wake up and make changes required possible. We cannot solve a crisis without treating it as a crisis. And if solutions within the system are so impossible to find, then maybe we should change the system itself. Sometimes we just simply have to find a way. The moment we decide to fulfill something, we can do anything. And I'm sure the moment we start behaving as if we were in an emergency, we can avoid climate and ecological catastrophe. Humans are very adaptable. We can still fix this, but the opportunity to do so will not last for long. We must start today. We have no more excuses.
Thank you.
Thank you.